Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. So today, going to be an interesting one, kind of one that I haven't really done. I haven't done this format. So we're going to be asking, I'm going to be asking you a question, really. So what do you have, like what issue or problem or even just something that's going on in your life that you want resolution on or some guidance or some kind of information about, right? So I'm going to pull 3 cards from here. We're just doing 3 piles, but the way that it's a little bit different is that while I'm doing the readings in each pile, we're going to be looking at a light aspect and also a shadow aspect. Now that doesn't mean good or bad, but it just really means our inner world and how we're feeling at like a deep level, even in the light. So it's like above and below kind of energy. And it's not about judging it, it's just about tapping into it or seeing where shadow is popping up too much or where we're not tapping into our light. So we'll see how it comes through. These are just going to be really interesting ones. I'm just going to go with the flow and see what comes through. But I'm really excited about this. So we'll pick the cards and then we'll get into it. So think about when you're picking a pile, think about a situation that you want assistance on. And you might even be able to come back if you have another topic that you want kind of answers or advice in, right? I'm not like a predict the future type kind of reader. Those are prophecies. I don't really do that. However, if there is anything in the future, at least you're being given an idea of, okay, that's what I want to head towards, or that's definitely not what I want. Let's steer around this and let's create a better path. Okay, so picking with crystal cards. Well, these just popped out, so we're going to go with these 2. All right, so we've got Green Aventurine with good luck, prosperity, new opportunities, and heart healing. And we also have the Smoky Quartz with dispels negative energy, home protection, earth connection, achieving career success. Okay. Get one more. And for pile 3, you have fire, passion, creation, travel, courage. Okay, because we have 1 element and 2 crystals, I'm going to grab some stones, so I'll grab these now. I'm just going to do it while you're here, actually. Okay, this one was calling for here, this one here, and which one was it? No, we're going to grab the Jade Buddha. Okay, so if you pick by crystals, for pile 1, you have the Jade Buddha. This is a piece of jade. For pile number 2, you have a little rhodonite point. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. And for pile number 3, you have the carnelian heart. Okay. So as always, think about the issue or a challenge or even just something that you want a little bit of insight into. Maybe it's not a challenge, maybe it's not a problem, but it's like, I don't know if I should start this or do this, etc. Then have that in mind and then take a look at the piles and see which one calls to you. Other than that, I'll leave you to consider your piles and I'll see you in your reading. Hello, 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 pile number 1. Welcome to your reading. So again, you've chosen the Green Aventurine. Good luck, prosperity, new opportunities, and heart healing. With this little Jade Buddha. Okay. So I'm going to put, oh, we can lay him down so we can see him a bit better. Alright, so the first section of your reading, So whatever you've chosen in your mind, we're going to be talking to the aspect of shadow first. I'll leave timestamps below if you want to skip and just hear from the light. Absolutely fine. I'm not diving into any negative energy or dark energy or anything bad. It's really just a part of us, right? We're all multifaceted. We're not just X, Y, Z, we're everything in between, and everything that is not us also influences us or has some kind of like, okay, that's interesting. I never even thought that kind of thing could be done by someone. There's so many different aspects to us, even if we don't participate them in this particular lifetime. So, I'm going to get straight into it. Because it's going to be split, I'm going to move the cards, clear the shadow cards, and then do the other cards. So it might be less cards on each kind of pile, but it's still going to bring through a message of hopefully understanding, or at least something that can help you. Okay, so can we get a card for pile number 1, please? Shadow. Okay. Quite warm here, so I don't have the aircon on, but I might turn it on if it gets a little bit too hot. So if you hear any noises in the background, it'll just be me cooling down. I think we will take this one as well, and that will be enough for the shadow. Alright, let's take a look at your reading. This is an interesting one. It's like good luck, prosperity, new opportunities, heart healing. This might be a situation where, a new start, new beginning is needed. Maybe some kind of heart healing itself, as in like heart chakra as well. So really nice card to bring out at the start. Moving away from, maybe it's like moving out of an old stagnant energy and just wanting something different. It's almost like Six of Swords energy, right? It's like that leaving a situation, and the world is like opening up. That doesn't mean that it was by easy means. It's taken a toll, but we're ready for the next phase. We're not going to keep circling or cycling on this old energy. So nice here. We'll see what the shadow has to say though. Alright, so you have Duma coming through with the Angel of Dreams. This is a fallen angel. The fallen energy isn't in the cards. Just so you know, there's no like I said, there's no negative energy. If you've seen it, you're probably like, oh, not for me. But Angel of Dreams. So this really does touch on, especially in the shadow, limitations, like not seeing a way out, not letting our dreams or our ideas bring us forward, or like make us feel that there's a way out of a situation. There's a way out. And this is just saying that these are shadows. These are fears and thoughts that are kind of coming up out of the ground to say, hey, there's a purpose for Duma coming through right now. It's like, while shadows can sometimes remind us, or let's say fears remind us of like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't do that. They can also be seen as like, oh, I remember you. You're the one that says I can't do this, this, and this because of like what happened last time. I'm a whole new person now. I believe in myself. I trust myself. Sometimes shadows or fears remind us that we can definitely overcome it, and they're just popping up to remind us of like, that's the thing. You can either see them as like, oh yeah, and minimize, or oh yeah, I have overcome far harder things than what I'm thinking of doing. Look how many years I was in a toxic relationship. Look how many years I was with, in a toxic workplace or something like that. You're only limited by your decision or your perceptions. It's really how Doom is kind of coming through. Okay, and we also have walls. So this is the walls card, and as you can see, it's not just like one wall. These are like old walls coming down. again, we're coming back to prosperity and good luck. This is a good time to consider, to think about what is actually imposing on you. What are your real walls? What are the real walls, right? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying just thoughts and feelings. I'm saying what is actually in your present now. Is that X still in your life? No, then why are they still having some kind of impact on you? Have you processed that kind of challenge or those difficulties? No, I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that. So do what you need to do in a way that's healthy and beneficial to you. But just make sure there's nothing holding you back, especially if they're not in your life or that situation is not happening anymore. Of course, feelings can still go through and flow into our current life, but if they came from an event that's no longer happening, it's time to work on severing those old ties, let's say. Okay, because you want good boundaries, but you don't want walls, and especially if you had old walls and then you built new walls and new walls, then you don't want to be like, well, I can't deal with this because I've got all these to get through. That doesn't mean anything. You can always review them, and if you want to keep them up, you can. This is just a suggestion. Okay, so we have the Seven of Swords. It's interesting here. This might have pertained to the situation, but I also want to say again that this doesn't have to stay with you forever. If the situation was, recent, of course that's going to be more raw. If it was old, that doesn't mean it's less painful. It's just about choosing happiness, right? So don't, with the Seven of Swords, I don't really like saying don't. However, it's kind of just a reminder to not let your fears trick you or take you out of your what you can do and what's available to you to, feel free. I feel like this is about a freedom time. I'm going to say this to you, pile number one. This really does feel like moving on, like not just moving on, but giving yourself the space and time to think and consider everything that's being said here, but also your own honest and true feelings, thoughts, etc. It's a really important time. Give yourself space to do this. There's no like, okay, I'm going to do this now, I'm just going to jump into something. You don't have to rush into anything. Just take some time to consider, even though this is the Seven of Swords and it's usually that creepy, not creepy, but creeping guy with the swords. We've got like this panther here, so it's like, patiently waiting for the right time. You also have the Death card. Wow, the shadow is really showing shadow, right? I mean, of course. But we've got the Death card here. It's really interesting here because this little mouse has the Enlightenment. So it's like from the challenges, right? And from the fears down, these are like little fears down below through this, I don't know what it's called, like thorns, I guess? Bramble? I don't know. But anyway, stuff that you don't want to touch because you'll scratch yourself up. But it's kind of like this feels like the release. It almost reminds me of the story of Sedna. And Sedna was I believe an Inuit goddess of maybe some particular tribe. I'm not too sure, but like a goddess. And she was pretty much taken away by another, I'm assuming, god. And then Sedna's father went to try to save her, right? So she was like pulled in one direction, and then she was taken back, and then on the boat ride back, they capsized, and she wanted to get back on the boat, and her father, well, like while her fingers were stuck on the boat, chopped her fingers off, right? And then she just sunk down to the bottom instead of panicking and flailing or anything like that. I mean, obviously the father doesn't look that great, right? It doesn't look good for the men in the story, or the masculine energies in the story. But anyway, it's not about them. It's like she falls down and she's just like surrenders. Like this is kind of feeling like here, this mouse is like, well, I can struggle, I can do this, I can do that. I'm just going to surrender. So it's like almost an enlightening thing from challenge or from difficulties. And as the story goes, her chopped off fingers turn into coral and sea creatures, turtles, dolphins, that kind of thing. Turns into like the marine life that we see today. So it's an interesting story. doesn't sound great, but just that level of surrender, not waving the white flag, but actual letting go of the need of fear or the need to like control the situation or anything like that, just really just letting go. And I think this is where this card is coming through. With death, always about death and rebirth. So give yourself time, because you absolutely can change your situation. You don't have to be a victim of the past or anything like that. You don't deserve that. Just because walls are high doesn't mean they can't come down, right? Okay. And I think that'll open, instead of clouding the dreams with this like dark energy, it opens up the possibilities and reignites those old dreams. Yeah. It's not just, you got the world card as well. So with this beautiful bee on here, it's not just like an ending, it feels like an expansion in a sense. It's like, oh, wow, I really have learned so much about myself. I don't need to stay in here. This might be like a new age for you in a sense. Now, if the situation doesn't matter how big, small it is, like I know I'm talking quite grand with here, but everything that we overcome is a big deal. It's a big deal. So celebrate it and enjoy your overcoming these situations, these hardships. Shadows can be great reminders, as well as horrible stunting, kind of like slowing us down in a sense. But that doesn't mean they're not part of us. They are part of us. We just need to get on top of, or have like almost like having a sit down conversation with our shadows and being like, okay, I'm not going to let you do like slow me down from this. I'm going to do this. I understand these are the risks and that kind of thing, and I appreciate that. But I have a plan if something happens, or I trust myself to overcome this. And then the shadows don't necessarily go away, but they become more manageable. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. But so interesting, these two endings, and they're majors too. Don't let the shadows become controlling of you and your thoughts and feelings, because good things are coming. Good things are coming through. And we're going to have a look at the shadow. The light, to see what information comes through about that as well. Okay, so we've got some interesting cards that I picked for this, and then at the end I'm going to grab a Starlight card. Alright, so can we get a message of light for pile number 1? So we tapped into your shadow. Clearly there's fears, worries, that kind of thing, and that's not a bad thing. We sometimes need that. We need that if the what is it, robbers in the house, right? We need to react, not scream. We need to react in whatever way that is. But if we are 20 years later and we're still thinking about the robber that could be in the house that isn't, that's when it becomes something that keeps us up at night and doesn't really help our situation. So really beautiful message coming through for you, pile number 1. This is such a true message too. It's such a nice message, I feel. Even if it is from the shadow, right? It's still part of who we are. Makes us who we are. Okay, so from the light. And we've got Keepers of the Light here, because this is such a nice deck. Really, 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 really interesting cards. Ascended Masters, Deities, Goddesses, Gods, Angels. Many different types of light energies. Message from the light, please. Okay. And then lastly, these are the Angel Wisdom Tarot. Okay. I feel like potentially the shadow might have answered a lot of the questions, but this is also like, hey, remember up here we have like some good vibes too. Okie dokie. Okay. Oh, I love this. So you got Tau Setans with resilient, bold, and sassy. This is your, let's say, angels or your higher light beings, or just your higher self. Like when I say higher self, I mean the highest energy, highest good of yourself. It's really coming through with feeling like who you are supposed to be, still having, you know, good boundaries. This resilience shows like your levels of determination or fortitude, like being able to go through so much and still be at the core who you are. Now, has that been kind of shadowed or hidden for a while? Maybe. But this is, we saw in the shadows, that is being lifted, that is ending, that's coming to a conclusion. And we have this Tau Seton coming through with just like, you know, getting back your energy. Sometimes something challenging can happen and to us, and we were like, let's say we felt like we were too soft or like nice, and the situation, it turned us over, right? It just wasn't right for us. It just turned out really horrible. And then we can flip to this like aggressive and angry kind of person. And sometimes we stay in this and we get like smaller and smaller and smaller. So it just, you know, you don't want to flip flop around. You want to get into a balance. And this feels like empowering, not like, you know, even sassy, just having like a bit of your fire or like a bit of wit and spark back. I like that. Yeah, like I said before, this is Mahabharata Babaji, and we've got soul expansion. Soul expansion to me is kind of like when I was talking about in the last reading. It's like more expansive version of yourself. Like instead of growing in one direction or two or three, this is like in multiple, many, multi-dimensional almost growth of what you've been through and what you've had maybe with a particular person, what kind of challenge you've had. It's always, it feels like I don't think it's for everybody, but it feels like it's coming up with like a particular person, like a challenging father or relationship, ex-wife, husband, whatever, you know. It's like just challenging, or even friendship. It doesn't have to be, obviously, but that just keeps popping up in my head, and I'm like, ex-partner, like angry father, like something like that, you know. Difficult relationship for sure. But this is, your consciousness is expanding. You understand the connections between all things. So just letting you know, you are expanding on like a spiritual level, on a higher level as well, while you're overcoming some earthly challenges that you've been through and cutting away some of those old ties that no longer serve you. So really, really beautiful message. Kind of plays into this little Buddha too. I feel just that, I don't know, it feels like peace. It just feels a more peaceful version of yourself. So I feel like that's all you want. It's just peace, right? All right, giving you back the power. Raziel coming through with the magician. This says, magic is alive in your life. What you need to be successful, no, what did it say? What you need to be a success will manifest. If you believe it, you can do it. This is it. This is talking about self-determination, self-belief. Getting back into your, like, you know, edgy self. Or, like, not that you have to be edgy, right? It's just real self. Just you. Just being you. But just know that whatever work you've done as well, especially around the situation or even just in other aspects of your life, you're growing and expanding and becoming more aware, I feel. More aware of who you are and your resilience, and you're also like your intellect and everything. Just so much. It's just a lot coming through with this Babaji. Babaji is great too. Such an interesting, like, mystical character. If you ever want to look him up, have a look at that. All right, this is interesting. You've got the Six of Pentacles with Jamariel coming through. So this is the good you do comes back to you. An unexpected inflow of abundance, borrowing wisely or paying off a debt, sharing your wealth with others less fortunate. So this could be in a position where you can, almost like tell your story. I'm not saying you have to share it, but it's almost like in your higher realms, like in the fifth dimension, it's like, believe what you want. I'm just going to talk to this. But it's like in the higher realms, you're sharing, you're like teaching people, like your guides, and how you've dealt with this. You're actually teaching them as well as they're trying to guide you through whatever you've been through with this challenge. But there's also another side of this, which is keep the peace, take the highest road, take the road of light, take the don't get pulled into anyone else's drama or even your own. Let your shadows hold you back, right? Like those little eyes when the owl is taking off the mouse. This is interesting because I feel like this is maybe, take it or leave it, but it's like maybe it impacted your connections in the future. So this might have been like relationship with parents, family, friends, and this whole situation kind of impacted how you like interacted, or did you trust the people that were around you, that kind of thing. It's not judging. There's zero judgment here. This is like you're actually building from what you've learned. So don't let the past, again, don't let the past hold you back. That's really how it's coming through, because relationships and connections are here to be explored. You got the healing heart. Relationship may have ended. This is like, getting back into being who you are, not being who you're told to be or who you think you should be, right? This is being you. Nice connection here. This is like building connections with relationships, partners, one-on-one general connections. So we've got Raphael coming through here too, another healer, and I like that because it really does touch in with the Green Aventurine. So it says here, falling in love or the resurgence of a romantic relationship, forgiveness, and the ending of challenges. Absolutely. That's exactly what this was all about with your last cards as well. And it says exchanging gifts. I like that because there's a lot of exchange here. A lot of like you have the power to help others and also help yourself, right? Get yourself out of a situation or a challenge. Just by even taking the high road. Sometimes you don't even have to talk to the person. You just do it, all of this work within yourself, and you're like, oh, okay. I don't need to hear them apologize or hear them do anything because it doesn't matter. It's not about them. It's about me and how I deal with this. It's all about you, and not in an ego way. This is about you because this is about the things that are held on to. It says here, don't give up on the people you love. Okay? And just to round out your reading, I hope this has helped. So we're going to pull a Starlight card. There was one that was jiggling around. Oh yeah, there you are. Nice. So you've got New Horizon. Old ways won't open new doors. Isn't that just the story of this whole entire reading? Old ways won't open up new doors. That's such a good message. I don't think I pulled this one, but this is a very good message. New horizons, talking about new opportunities, new connections, new relationships, but giving you back the power. I mean, you already had the power, you just need to remember. And the light is really shining in on, like, while you've been through all these challenges, you've been growing and expanding. You haven't been minimized or pushed down. That's just our maybe earthly thoughts. You've actually been growing, and now it's time to recognize that. I love that. So that is exactly what I see in your readings today, pile number one. Thank you so much for being here. This was a really lovely reading, and I can kind of touch on, like, certain aspects that I've been through in my life and what I used to hold on to and what I don't now and that kind of thing. So this is a great reminder for me personally as well. And I hopefully for you, this is a good reminder of, like, what you're capable of. You're probably capable of so much more than you think. And what that looks like doesn't have to be solving world peace, right? Or like creating world peace. It could be just like feeling like, you have your energy back, and you're in you're able to be in command of what you decide to do, and how you want to be how you want to express yourself, how you want to be in the world. So really beautiful reading. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for being here. Please take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next reading. Hello there, pile number 2. Welcome to your reading today. So it's going to be a little bit of a different one. We're going to start off with your shadow. I'm going to put some timestamps down. If you don't want to look at the shadow, you just want to focus on the light, or vice versa, absolutely fine. They're going to play into each other anyway, so I'm going to mention them in both. Firstly, we're going to start with your shadow though. So check the timestamps if you want to skip ahead, up to you, of course. So you have chosen the smoky quartz, with dispels negative energy, home protection, earth connection, achieving career success. Very interesting one. We've also got the rhodonite. Pretty sure that's how it's called. Yeah, that's what it's called. Rhodonite. Just a little point here. Okay, so let's take a look at your cards. I might just move this down. Okay, so this is the shadow. Can we get a message regarding the shadow, please? Oh, with this one, actually. Now, shadow doesn't mean negative. This isn't a negative message. It's just touching on fears, ego, you know, those more challenging feelings and aspects of ourselves. It's not about getting rid of one to show the other. It's about understanding why they're important. Fear is good when you have, you know, a lion in the room. Then you need to go react, so you run away, or whatever you're supposed to do with the lion. I have no idea. I'd probably just try to get out of there, right? Instead of like getting rid of your shadows or getting rid of your fear, and then a lion, you'd be like, oh, I'll be fine. Like, not quite. Probably not. Like, okay. Trying to get one. It's like, all of these. Okay. And this is the Guardians of the Night Tarot. I was trying to pick, like, not shadowy decks, but more darker colors, or darker images, let's say. I like to work personally in the light, but I understand the benefits of the shadows as well. Like I say, we're all more than we think we are, right? We're so much more. Okay, let's get into it. So your first card, you have Husmed, which is the Angel of Annihilation. Okay, interesting. Talking about dispelling negative energy, this is like dispelling it. You can kind of see here too, it's an interesting one with whatever the situation you're talking about, because there's like light and then there's light, and elimination isn't necessarily, oh sorry, it's not elimination, it's annihilation. So it's like, it feels more grand. I guess elimination, annihilation, I don't know exactly the difference of the meanings, but elimination is getting rid of something, annihilation is destroying it, right? So it's like you can eliminate something by removing it out of the space. Annihilation is you blow it up. So this might be blowing something up, or putting focus on it. Like this shadow might be a big thing that needs to be discussed or talked about. The situation might be something that needs to be discussed or talked about. And so shadow is kind of like rearing its head pretty heavily, causing worry, anxiety, stress. We'll have a look at the rest of the cards, but it's just like Husmed is like an interesting one to pop up. Okay, so we've got messages, and you can see here this is like little receipts or little notes and messages. So it's a lot of dialogue. It feels like a lot. This isn't just one letter. It's like all these there's a lot of messages. There's a lot of thoughts or conversations. I don't know if you're messaging someone and it's like a big long blah blah blah, but I feel like this needs to be taken in a different direction. Like we'll see what comes through, but it's interesting because messages is like, well, I've got this receipt because you said blah blah blah, I've got this, well, you know, that kind of thing. Looks like that's just keeping the conversation, like the way it is happening, or the dialogue within ourselves, or with this other person or this company. It does feel like that's not going anywhere. It's just cycling. It's cycling. Yeah, it's getting stuck. So you've got the Eight of Swords. It's getting kind of like trapped. You also have the Six of Wands. Interesting. This is interesting because this feels more highlighting. And I think that's where the annihilation comes through. It's like not highlighting the good stuff, but it's highlighting the shadows, let's say, like the shadows that are coming through might be attached to something really old or something that's like constant, right? It's constant. It's just like it's building up backlog. That's how it kind of feels. And it's kept you stuck for a while, which is interesting because these owls kind of look like guides and they're like, you can just climb out. They're kind of like, hey, we're not going to help you because you know how to help yourself. You know how to get out of here. You just need to climb out because you might be huddled all the way down. But if you stand up, it might be just like up to your waist and you just hop out, right? It's not actually as big a deal as it looks. Now, how you feel about it still might feel like a big deal, and that's absolutely fine. It's not about judging it. But take a look at the real situation. Is it as fearsome as this, or is it actually just like highlighting a certain area that you've kind of cycled on? And even though this is in the shadow, I do want to talk about it slightly in the light. This is definitely about showing yourself, showing up, turning up for yourself, turning up to the party kind of thing. Being there. It's interesting. It's a nice energy for a shadow. Okay, and we've also got the Five of Pentacles. Again, with these owls, there's something with them. Owls generally represent like wisdom, knowledge, learned, teaching, support, but it feels like guides. Like these ones feel like guides, and this feels defensive almost. The Five of Pentacles to me is generally feeling left out or discarded or not heard, and that's what I feel like needs to be eliminated as well. But also even here, this like the owl's the center of the picture, but it's really coming down to this little caterpillar down here. He's kind of not ready to change or not ready for the transformation. That I feel like needs to be squashed, or maybe not squashed, but just reviewed and looked at. It's like, why do I not want, why am I still cycling on this? Why is this still going? Why am I still in this job that's not giving me what I need? Why do I feel like I need to stay here? Is it because of I'll reach 10 years and get like this extra thing or something like that? Is it worth it though? Is it worth staying for another 3 years just for that? Like really? That's the kind of energy I'm getting. It's like I would rather go find something that will help me grow and take the pay cut, let's say. Obviously, everyone's situation is different, but this is just me personally. This isn't from the cards right now. Than to stay in a toxic situation or a difficult, challenging relationship, whatever. That especially if I felt like left out or just held back, because this feels defensive, and you don't want defensive to be your go-to to protect yourself. You don't want to someone walk past and attack them because you thought they were attacking you, even though they were just minding their own business, right? Or they just said something that wasn't even exactly what you thought. Like someone says something, we can translate it in our minds to mean X, Y, Z. And it's like, how did you get there? But, our minds are a little interesting, and we're talking from the shadows, so it's really touching on that. This is like shadow just looking at all this, looking at your receipts, looking at the need. Is there a need to win when you can just take the high road, right? Or take step out of the situation? Don't get stuck there. Don't get pulled into drama that's just not really worth it. And that's where I feel the dispelling negative energy. There's earth connection here too, and I feel like that's grounding. The reason why I brought up job is because when I was talking around here, especially if you're like I don't want to say best person in the job, but like you're doing really great work but you're not getting recognized. It's like, come on, just it's time to step out or speak up, right? Whatever will work, because it's not worth cycling through this. But anyway, grounding, really important here. Okay, so shadow. Interesting messages here. It's talking to feeling stuck, not feeling seen, also feeling left out. So that might have been the past. It might still be on your mind, or maybe it's happening now, which doesn't feel great, and it's like cycling on it. So annihilation is needed, because it's like some of our old fears and things like that do need to be annihilated. I don't like the idea generally of killing the shadow so the light is all we focus on, but some stuff does need to be squashed or does need to be removed because it doesn't actually help anymore. So that's not the whole of your shadow, but it is like aspects, right? You can work with some aspects, like the fears that pop up and be like, oh yeah, lions in the room, get out of there, I need that fear. You don't want to remove it and be like, la la la, you know. So anyway, let's go into the light for you, pile number 2. Interesting. The song playing at the moment is Number. I don't know why that might pertain to your reading, but we'll see. So it's pretty much someone's talking about asking someone for their number, pretty essentially. But let's have a look at the light now. So we're going into the light attributes, or the light message. Sometimes the light's just like, hey, we're here, you could tap into us and get a good energetical boost if you wanted to. I feel like it's that one actually. I was like, that's a bit quick, but I do shuffle them beforehand and in between readings, so I'm going to trust my instincts and go with what pops up. You are a clump. Okay, I'll take these 2. So this is a message from the light. Okay, on number 2, let's take a look at your cards. Alright, so you've got the greys with timid, misunderstood, and shy. That's interesting. This does feel like almost minimizing your light in a sense, which isn't great. Which is interesting, because in the shadow there was like that 6 of Wands highlighted, and now we've got the greys coming through the short ones with misunderstood, shy, and timid. So it's like, instead of tapping into this and not necessarily tapping into the timid and shyness, it's more like tapping into the 6 of Wands, but from a light aspect. It's like coming from a shadow aspect. It's really weird dichotomy that's kind of coming through. It doesn't, like, when I say dichotomy, it's like not really gelling or meshing right. Anyway, let's have a look. But anyway, I think this is more talking to, hey, remember your light. Don't dim your light, especially with this huge moon. Alright, so you've got Melchizedek with higher learning. Okay, I understand. This says on here, you have learned from experience. Absolutely. More inner study is now required to further progress. I would say give yourself some time with this. Maybe take an objective look at the situation without passing judgment on your fears, worries, on your dreams and aspirations as well, not minimizing those. It's really about highlighting the light. Come back into the light. It's kind of like where it's coming from. See the situation from the light. Yeah, so we've got Haniel as well coming through with the 2 of Swords. This is being unable or unwilling to make a decision. Follow your own heart rather than trying to make others happy. Pretending there's no problem, over analyzing. Yeah, Oh, Magician coming out again. This came out in the last pile. So you've got Raziel coming through. This is magic is alive in your life. What you need to be successful will manifest. If you believe it, you can do it. This is like positive thinking, right? And sometimes that can be like, oh, of course, positive thinking. But it's really true. In any situation, we can take it as negative or not. Like just recently, I had an issue where this is just a small issue, right? But an issue in itself, regardless. I was ordering food, and it was like, I think it was like 40 minutes after, and it still said getting picked up or something like that. And then I messaged them and they said, oh yeah, it hasn't been assigned. We can't find anyone to pick it up. And I was like, well, it's probably cold by now. And without anything, they just cancelled it. And I was like, and then they were like, well, do you want to, the money will come back into the account. And I was like, okay, whatever. That's fine. And then they were like, do you have time for a review or something like, how has my service been type thing? And I was like, no, I need to go find food. Like now, it's just like, what a ridiculous thing to ask. But anyway, that was kind of funny. And so it was me and my partner, and my partner wasn't really happy about it. I was like, that's fine. We get to go to the supermarket. And I was like, yay, getting just nice food, just like stuff to make a quick meal. And I was quite happy about it. And then I was like, wow, if that didn't happen, we wouldn't have seen the moon. It was wasn't the full moon, but it was like the day after. So it was like pretty much a full moon, and it was real close and real bright, like I would say yellowy orange. It was really cool. So I was in a good mood. He wasn't, but we had the same. The reason why I messaged that, like talked about that, is like in the positive side, we got to see all these things and do this, and we still got to eat. Right, we didn't starve. We had plenty of food. We just wanted like some takeaway. And then he even said, oh yeah, I didn't actually want that anyway. And it was like, oh, well, you didn't say. But we didn't get it, so it was like, oh, there's nothing to really talk about. But there was still positives from it, even the challenges. And so that we can take that into many other different situations and aspects of life as well. Okay, and we also have the 10 of Fire, or the 10 of Wands. This is coming through with Michael, Archangel Michael, working too hard or too many hours, a need for balance in life, let others help you, health problems due to stress. Especially if it's like a lot going on in your mind. She's holding her head. You've got the Two of Swords, which is like, feeling kind of isolated or stuck to be able to make a decision. Or feeling not like you're empowered, especially if you're carrying too much. I talked about this career kind of thing, or work, taking on too much. You always have the power. You always do. There's lots of times in our life where we have less options than others, but we always have, a choice. We always have a choice. I want to say we have a choice. That might be hard to hear for some of you, but we always have a choice. And there are lights coming through with, like, learn from the experiences. Don't just see everything or some of them as just negative. Some of them, challenging ones, have made you who you are and made you like the person you are, and should be empowering. And so this is talking about learning, like further learning, and also feeling like you can make these choices because you have the power, in a sense. Not letting the small things or a couple of the decisions slow you down, because even small things all build up into a challenge, right? So take some time, look after yourself. Dispel negative energy, get rid of some of this toxic energy that you might be feeling, or these old feelings that might be coming through and clouding this situation, challenge or not. I also want to say, with the misunderstood, you want to be true to yourself as well, and make sure that your light's coming through. Like, when I say light, I mean your true self, who you are at a core. Because misunderstood feels like if I was in a working environment or something like that, and there was someone who was always like just angry, or just like annoying, or just loud or something like that, but aggressive. Like, I mean, just like, not the, like, maybe that's not just themselves, but then out of work they're fine, like everything's like chill, we can talk. And so there's clearly something there, right, that they need to process and go through. So this is kind of talking to maybe you're in that kind of similar situation where you're not really able to or feel like you can be yourself, but you always have an option and a choice here. Sometimes the hard ones, the hard decisions, lead to a much better life. So do with that what you will. I'm going to pull one more card just to finalize the reading. So let's see what comes through. Yeah, unleash. Okay. Hold nothing back. Expand into the universe. Yeah, don't minimize yourself. But this talks about also letting others help you as well. If you need assistance, talk to someone. Get their input as well. You don't have to take it or do anything with it, but sometimes it's just nice to get someone else's perspective. That can boost your confidence in what you've already decided, or it might give you a different layer to the situation, regardless of what you decide. But hold nothing back, expand into the universe, unleash. Yeah, it's time to, like with the 8 of Swords, step out. Make that decision. Make what's right for you. Do what's right for you. In a self-honoring way. Such a nice card. Anyway, that is your reading pile number 2. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you've enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Hello, pile number 3. Welcome to your reading today. So we're going to start off with your shadow and then the light. So in the description below, I will put in timestamps so you can go straight to either or. But we'll start your reading with the cards here. So you've got fire with passion, creation, travel, and courage. So this is really nice. And the carnelian heart, which always makes me think of like fire and passion as well. So really interesting cards to come through, like an interesting card to come out, I mean, in a Pickacard. Generally it does pop up with crystals, but there are 4 elements in that deck as well. So we'll see what the situation is. Hopefully you have that in mind, and we'll take a look at the shadow. So shadows aren't something to be feared of. They literally are, they can be fears, right? And sometimes we have those for a reason. If there's danger, and if there's a gunman in the house or something like that, or we're being robbed, we need to be able to react and do something, not think, oh, that's fine. I live in the light. I trust that I'll be fine. We respond. Okay, shadow. I'm going to take this one as well, just because I feel like it's poking out. Okay, and we'll grab some tarot cards as well. Just going to grab chunks of them at the moment because they're kind of balled up. Okay, so message regarding your shadow. So this will hopefully help shed some light on a situation. Which is interesting because it's shedding light from the shadows, right? Okay, let's take a look. Wow, and you've also got Uriel, Angel of Flame. So interesting with fire, the carnelian, and now you've got Uriel coming through, the Angel of Flame. So it's definitely about empowerment and passion. Passion feels like it's really strong here. Especially if there's all this fire in your shadow as well. There's a lot of like rage, it feels like. I don't know if that's being unleashed, like you're releasing that, or if it's just building up. But it's interesting because Uriel can sometimes feel like the actual archangel fine, but just the energy of this word for some reason is coming through with like ego, right? There's like ego strong here. Okay, so you've got transition. Maybe wanting a change. It's interesting that this transition is so dark, like this. It's coming out of like the shadow or something, or out of the mist. The transitions into the light. So you may already be on the path. You also have chakra alignment. Interesting here with this like I don't know, it feels like the heart chakra. There's a lot of red here too. We're talking about a lot of fire and passion. It's interesting. So something might be overactive, like if you do look at the chakra line, there might be your root chakra might be overactive, or like your lower chakras, something like that. Maybe just have like a meditation where you just balance. Like there's someone did one that was really nice. I can't remember where it was, but it's on YouTube somewhere. There's lots of them anyway. But you kind of felt like you started up with your root and walked all the way up, or went all the way up, and it was like energy around and like the color that they generally associate with, and they kind of bloomed into a flower. So each one had like a flower, and I think that was a nice way of like softly opening them and gently, more so than like blasting them open. And if they're overactive, it's like calming it down, so it's like neutralized. And if it's underactive, it's like building it back up. So it's a nice way of doing it. Okay, this came out in pile 1 as well. So you've got the death card. You also have the judgment card. This is interesting. This is touching on transition a huge amount now. The judgment card is the snake who's learnt so much, but even through the pain, right? The pain, like sometimes the pain can make us flip to the anger, right? To the fire, and the fire can be burnout or over fire or something. Like you want sometimes, like here in Australia, we want to do we want to light fires to stop huge blaze, like that kind of thing. So it's like controlled fires, like small fire burning things. And once that's done, that ensures that if there is a big fire, it's not going to have all this other fuel that's already been burnt off. That's just an example. But like, it's interesting here, the snake has kind of wiggled, slithered, I guess is the right word, not wiggled, sorry. Slithered through some of this thorns, like the same thorns are popping up with the death and judgment to take off the old skin and be reborn. This fire might even be like being rebirthed by fire. I feel like the way it's coming through though is wanting the change and feeling like the change can only occur through aggression, and I don't feel like that's it. There's definitely a need to progress, but I feel like a mindfulness kind of chakra alignment, or even just mindfulness in itself, taking a pause to take a breath and not rush into anything, because you don't want your flame to be a raging wildfire, right? That's when it gets dangerous. You're allowed to be passionate about situations, absolutely. Just want to make sure that you are in your best, in the best light, rather than rushing into anything. You want to make sure you consider and understand the situation within yourself. Wow, you've got 3 mages. Yeah, this is a time of shift and change. These snakes coming through too, which always make me think of transition. Like the Judgment card is about understanding the past and helping that, coming to that aha moment, like just before the world, right? This is the celebration, the ending, like coming full circle. This is like all the lessons you've learnt from the Fool to the Tower to the Death card to the through Temperance, Magician, all that kind of stuff. It's like an understanding. And it's interesting here because again we've got these poppies which kind of make me think of like dreams and passions you have that are close to your heart, and same with this heart chakra just coming through. Really interesting. It's almost like standing up to something, to someone, an organization, a person. It's interesting. The shadow is really, really interesting. It does show like fears and the shadow kind of having a little bit more control than it should, or having a little bit more oomph, if you want to say, a little bit more hand in the situation, a little bit too much. And that can cycle us through, time and time and time and time again. You're still learning and growing from it and becoming more of like who you are based off situations from the past. I always feel like it's uncovering who we are at our truth, and sometimes that can come out as like too much. Like, I don't feel like you can be too much of yourself, but it's like too much is like not actually yourself. It's like I've got like, let's say 5 points of like empowerment, but if you're starting to put, and then there's a store or something, I just go with me. This doesn't make sense in my head, but it's kind of just coming through. So it's like having five pieces of fire, let's say 5 pieces of fire, and instead, and here is where you need to put it so you can get your goal. So this holds 5 pieces, but if you put like 7 pieces in there because you're just like bam in there, it's too much and it can't hold it and it can't go for it. So it's like, while the 5 is you and it's all nice and balanced, the 7, yeah, 5 of that is you, but 2 of it is like extra. It's too much. It's like overused. So I feel like it's just being mindful of that. Now we're going to come back into another aspect, and this transition, a change, wanting a shift and a change out of the old and into this next phase of your life. Absolutely go for it. If this is in regards to empowerment, travel, creation, like doing something new, doing something different, changing your environment, absolutely go for it. Just give yourself space and time to understand, is this coming from, am I moving because of fear, or am I running away because of fear, or am I traveling? Am I do I have my itinerary and everything geared up to get into this new state or this new phase of my life? So it's interesting. This is not normally what I would look in the shadow, but it's like it's like one element being really pushed on. So that could be like root chakra, like our grounding, our sexual sex, like our passions, our like fears, that real grounded energy. Okay, so this is very interesting. We're going to look at the shadow as the light as well. So I'm going to clear the cards and then pull some more cards for the light. I'll keep you here as well, but if you want to skip to the light, you can use the timestamps below. Okay. So we've got 3 different decks here, and I'm just going to pull one of these cards at the end. This is like just a little note. They have been really like on point with the readings so far. Yeah, I just want to say you can be passionate, you can still be yourself while not overexerting yourself and over stimulating or burning yourself out, because you want to still be yourself in many cases, but you don't want to overextend or overdo it, right? You don't want to just stress yourself out, essentially. Okay, so let's see. So this is going to be a message from the light. Interesting deck to come through for the light. Not really one I'd normally pick, but it really wanted to come through today, so I let that happen. So I feel like, just to sum up the shadow, it feels like it was just overstimulated. That's all I can kind of bring out. Okie dokie. And pull some tarot. So this is the Keepers. Nope. This is the Keepers of the Light. This deck here is the Angel Wisdom Tarot. Yeah, you want to come out. Okay. Since you shut out, we'll grab you as well. Okay, let's take a look at your light to help with this situation that you have in mind. So you have vegans with solitude, independence, and peace. I love that, especially coming out of the, out of the fire, literally, with Uriel coming through as you're in the shadow. It's like vegans coming through. It's just like all you really want is peace, right? You just want to be felt and heard. I feel like this is going to be some kind of inner work for sure with vegans coming through. Kind of feels like hermit in a sense. I don't think you have to hermit exactly, but it's just kind of like being very quick with reflections, being very quick with like I don't know if it's like biting your tongue. I don't usually like saying that because I want people to be themselves, but if it's like you don't have to like run around and tell everyone who you are, right? You just be it, and if you know who you are, then you never need to tell anyone who you are because you're already living the way that you feel is important to you. Okay, cool. I like that. Oh, very nice. Lady Nada coming through, so interesting. She hasn't been popping up for such a long time, and now in the last, like this week, today, she comes up in this deck, and I have another deck with her, and she popped up in a different reading for that. So, a private reading for that one. And yeah, here she is again. She's coming through for the planet. Lady Nada with Hard Awakening. It says awaken to acceptance and divine love, give and receive in balance. Like I said with the last section of your reading, it was just about overuse. This is just about balancing. Your light is always going to be there to never judge you, never be judgmental of you. It's really just like, okay, here you want to go here, but you're like radiating here. Let's just pull it into this line because this is where you want to go anyway. We're not going to pull you away from who you are. You're just going to be who you are in the direction that you want to go. That's how this is really feeling. This is also like higher heart chakra, so it's like kind of like turning that red into pink, like softening it a bit and turning it into like more loving energy, self-caring energy, self-appreciation energy. This feels so much more lighter. Well, what did I say? Light. And then we get the sun. Uriel's still coming through here. So interesting. Uriel's popping up in your reading a lot. So you have a great time of joy and success, brilliant epiphanies that lead to magical opportunities, plans that work out perfectly, and gratitude to the divine. This is a nice one. The gratitude, especially to the divine. Just being grateful for what you have, who you are, helps kind of be who you are, right? Being appreciative of, you know, how traditionally some families will bless the food or like say something they're grateful for, like in Thanksgiving kind of thing. It's kind of like that. You don't have to like go away, light a candle, and like do something like a ritual or anything to say thank you. You just like say it in your head. It's like, oh, this is annoying, blah, blah, blah. You know, whatever's going on in your head. And then you're like, oh, I'm so grateful for these opportunities anyway, even if they might be challenging. It gives me an opportunity to better myself or do something else or help someone or help myself, right? So it's an interesting one. But it looks like whatever you're doing, pile number 3, you're going to get there, obviously. You're a trailblazer. But you don't want to be a trailblazer and leave a firestorm behind you. You want to burn everything down or burn yourself out. You want to get there, and you will, but in a way that's more self-honoring and helpful to you in the long run. So much fire. You are wild. So interesting. But this is your greatest, it's kind of like this is your biggest gift in the world, and also can be, you know, your biggest kind of detriment in a sense. This flame, this energy. It's like this can be your greatest gift and also your biggest enemy in a sense. Yeah, that's how it's coming through. So really interesting, but it shows like motivational, inspiring, theatrical, and ambitious. Nothing wrong with any of those. Absolutely nothing wrong with any of this. And this is the king. This is the end of the court cards, but kind of like the end of the fire or the wands. This is the end. It says, take a leadership role, step into the spotlight, public speaking, keep an eye on the bigger picture, communicate your vision, don't be sensitive to criticism. Don't be sensitive to criticism, of course. Even from yourself, right? Sometimes that can be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Or maybe it's like this criticism comes through and you're like, oh, no, that's their issue, not my issue. That's like old me, not this me. I'm a more fuller, rounded version of myself. So a lot of fire coming through, a lot of heat. spice energy. I like that the vegans come through, so I think they kind of mellow this out. And Lady Nada changes that passion into love in a sense as well. Love of self and doing things in a more loving way. I don't think you're doing anything wrong. Whatever the situation is, it does call to your strengths, which is your flame or your passion, your energy. But it's also just making sure you don't overuse it, burn people, burn yourself out, all that kind of stuff, because it's your biggest gift. So utilize it in a way that works well for you. However that comes through, that'll be your choice, and I hope it works out for you in the best way. Yeah, doing it in a most balanced way. You've got Regale here too, kind of like feeling like the vegans in a sense. Regale is like he's kind of like the mellow one. To me, he always feels like a cool, fresh air, like cool energy. A breath of fresh air is what I want to say, a breath of fresh air. And he's coming through with justice. It's like getting the results that you deserve, but also doing it in a way that's self-honoring, that's fair, and I feel like this is much better. Like it's kind of like you feel so empowered because you didn't have to like push or burn or fight. You just had to show up. That feels really good. So it says here, be impartial and objective, stand up for what you believe. Absolutely. I'm definitely not saying do not be you. Be you, but be the best, like utilize who you are in the best possible way. Try to see things from all sides of the situation. You'll win if your position is one of integrity. So it looks like whatever the situation is, it's going to turn out in your favor. It's just like, do you do it by, you know, bam, or do you do it by just radiating your light in a sense? Well, I wonder what the situation is. I kind of want to be nosy, but obviously everyone's situation or whatever reason why you picked pile number one is you know, your personal and private message or question, let's say, or situation. So let's take a look at this last card. Okie dokie. Limitless. Know your worth. Look at that. I mean, we didn't need this card to know that you were passionate, fiery, energetical, especially around the situation, right? Sometimes we may not be fiery and passionate about everything in life because otherwise we'd be exhausted. But the situation that needs some kind of light or encouragement, absolutely go for it. Make that change, do that thing that you want to do. Speak to that person about what you need to speak to. Just go in after, you know, some mindful little thoughts. You had the chakra and the shadow, right? So that feels like cleansing that. But this also just feels like taking some time, making sure that the purpose you're going into this confrontation, situation, conversation is not to win, it's to bring a better life for yourself or a peaceful outcome. However that is done, you know, you've got everything, you've got the goods to do this for sure. You've got the goods. The king and the sun, you got the goods. All right, and it says know your worth. Make sure you get what you deserve. Well, what a wild little fiery, passionate pile for you. I really hope this has helped build your courage. If it was meant to build your courage, if it was meant to, you know, rein in that wildfire, hopefully that helps as well. But whatever this is about, I really hope that you get to a resolution that works well for you. So just want to leave you there. Thank you so much, Pile 3. Take care of yourself, and I will see you next time. Bye.